Dimp Digital presents Idle Game Chat.
Cool.
Hello, apps here from Dimp Digital. Welcome to Idle Game Chat. This is Dimp Digital's flagship video game podcast where we take you through the ups and downs of the wonderful world of video games. We are here on your favourite podcast app and YouTube absolutely free. However, if you want to support this grassroots independent endeavour, head over to patreon.com/dimpdigital and you can join the community. Hashtag hand in pocket. As you can see, listeners won't know, but I'm once again joined by our resident referee, Logan. Free on the spin. How's it going?
This hasn't happened since the inception of
No.
Dimp, really.
And we used to only do it every 2 weeks.
Yeah, so 3 weeks on the spin is perhaps the most frequent I've ever done it. But it's good. I'm enjoying the chat and actually being forced to think about video game stuff rather than just sort of stumbling across some toot.
Yeah, it does. I'll send you over the links and you're like, well, I'll best read or watch what he's talking about here, so at least I can pretend that I know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's all just regurgitation, isn't it? At the end of the day.
I've heard something somewhere. It sounded good and reasonable, so I'll
copy
I'll
that.
regurgitate that. I'll copy that and I'll say it and claim it as my own.
No, that's definitely the way to be doing it. Anyway, I think we've always got a good show lined up, but let's crack straight into it. Bit of a not really a cock up or a correction, but we was flapping last week, the pair of us. This is why I like to have continuity sometimes between co-hosts, because both you and I were flapping around the Division resurgence and where the story was set. You said it was set before the Division 1. I thought it was set after Division 1, before Division 2. And then we never really got to the bottom of it because for some reason that's not written down anywhere as far as I can see on Ubisoft's content or on their news sites. But I went and quickly re-watched the gameplay overview and whatnot. And the reason why we got in a flap is because we were both right. It's set at the beginning, as the first wave of agents that go into New York City. And there must be some sort of time jump, or maybe throughout the game you play through that time. And there's also going to be a part of it that takes place after Division 1, before Division 2. So between us, we were kind of right.
Yeah, we'll take it.
We have to take it.
You'll take it.
We?
I'll take it. And the podcast takes it.
Yeah.
Still annoying, though, that you get filler that isn't included as part of the main series. That is, as we said last week, it's not like you get oodles of narrative in this game. But still...
Well, we just came off a really bad session of the Division 2. I was in a particularly foul mood with the game, and we lasted just over an hour, which is...
It didn't get off on a good foot, did it? Let's be honest. Not that it always gets off on a good foot, but there are times when we've played it where it's gone like that. But because you got off on a better foot with it, it's acceptable. But
yeah,
it wasn't behaving itself off the bat today, was it?
No, it's just I don't know if the game has been designed in this way on purpose, but it feels like the further we're going into it, the more activities and skirmishes are just too close together, and you end up bleeding into a separate activity and then get attacked from both sides. And it's like, well, in a game that's reliant on cover to protect you, if you're getting shot up the arse by some rogues that are coming your way, it's difficult to concentrate on the activity at hand. And that feels that's happening more and more as we play it more. But maybe we're just getting less thorough, careless, just running past groups of enemies. Who knows?
I think it's becoming less forgiving as we get through it, but it still does feel like there's it does bleed into it relatively frequently. Like you'll be on one side of a building, be made to go through it, and then on the other side of the building there's like a control point, and you go, well, then you get snarled up in that because they obviously all the shooting kick off, and then all of a sudden you're getting shot from 2 or 3 different directions, and it is irritating. You kind of just in a weird kind of way, it'd be better if things just spawned in as you did them. Like, and there was just a few odd, random things that you could do as you come across it. But it seems like everything's pretty much spawned in, ready and waiting, and that is causing some problems.
And also, they'll spawn in, and it'll be like a skirmish between people that are on your side, so like allies, like little green shaded people. Not that, so I made them sound like aliens. Like they've got a green icon above their head, so you know that they're friendlies, and they'll be enemies. But if you stand still and look at them, they're just staring at each other until you trigger the aggro, and then they start firing. So someone's been sloppy there on that front.
But even then, they don't do anything.
No,
they're literally there for show.
Just get in the way, didn't they? A lot of the time. But there we go. Quick FGL update. Biff has got another game to score. It's Stray. So that's a recent release. Something that we're going to speak about later. Not to spoil the end of the show, but I always think, well, it's written in the title most of the times and in the show notes. And people are like, oh, we'll save that for later. You don't know what we're doing. It's like, well, you've written it. You've literally written it down in your show notes. So we know we're going to be speaking about Stray later on to close the episode out. But that's scored an 84. Now, I don't think he could have predicted that. I certainly didn't see that. You're sort of looking at mid to high 70s for that indie stuff usually. But it's come out the gates and doing very well. So he's now only 2 games away from getting the clubhouse lead. He's got Hogwarts Legacy left and the Callisto Protocol, which is December, so I don't know what he's playing at with that one. He's going to throw it all away, in my view, but I'm not involved.
So there generally is a rule that you shouldn't be touching December release games.
No, especially when he's transferred out a game that's coming out in September, and I was like, well, that's a sure thing. But it was Gollum, that Lord of the Rings game, which looks...
I don't know why it was in there to start off with.
Yeah, that's the trouble,
that's the problem. I mean, there's me criticising it when I only had 2 blanks anyway, but still, you putting something like that in there, you're asking to get that transferred.
Yeah.
It really did not look good to me.
No, it didn't. Quick delay news. It's not related to the FGL, so I haven't given it the full treatment, but Ubisoft have delayed or announced the delay of Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. That game will now be released during the publisher's fiscal year, beginning April 2023. So no sooner than then will you see that. Probably mid to late next year, possibly early 2024. So Ubisoft once again proving that they can't seem to get things out on time. Are you interested in Avatar, or does that feel like old hat to you? I mean,
do you know what?
Game and film. I just thought I'd randomly chuck this in here.
Sorry?
The game and film. Well, both. Well, yeah. I mean, you've got a game coming, but...
Well, I want to see... I've been waiting for the second Avatar film to come out for bloody ages, like most other people have. Wasn't it 2009?
It feels like it. I'll look it up. But yeah.
I think it was something... It was something along those lines. It might not be 2009, but it was longer than I thought, I think, basically. I don't know whether they're
2009.
Yeah, bosh. We deal in facts on this podcast.
Good knowledge.
Bang on. Yeah, so I don't know whether... I presume it's not coinciding that with the release of the new film.
Well, no, the new film's this December, isn't it? So I'm assuming that was... Look, we can only make assumptions, as we always do, but you can only assume they were planning to sort of get it close to that originally, and then someone at Ubisoft's gone, that ain't close to being ready, so do what you want, but that's not gonna be there of the film, which is a blow. We had this with the Avengers. They missed the fucking... Well, they didn't miss deadlines, but it wasn't synergised nicely. Everyone had given up on it, and then the game came out and was crap as well, so it was a double blow. Didn't even get to ride the end game hype, did it? It was all over by then. It was like, well, we're done.
You do need to jump, I think. If it's film related, it makes sense to jump, generically speaking, on, unless it's a fantastic game in its own right, like Spider-Man, for example.
Yeah.
I don't think would be worried about that particularly. No. But some of these other things, you think, I don't really know how many people are going to be that eager for Avatar, and you think you probably want to jump on that hype train bandwagon, but who knows? I mean, largely, would I be... It's not something that would particularly interest me, like, unless for whatever reason it had something about it that was getting rave reviews or whatever. I'd think, oh, hang on a minute, but I suspect it will be like a low 70s sort of okay playthrough sort of game.
And then what about the film? Been since 2009. Is that a cinema jobby in the making, or is it not really interested? That feels like that was so many years ago that a follow-up's not really... I can't remember what happened in the first one, so, I mean, not that normally matters in these types of things.
I mean, look, it really wasn't the most... The thing with Avatar wasn't the devastating storyline or anything like that. Like, the storyline's pretty generic, I would say. The thing that made it and gave it all that hype around it was all the 3D stuff.
Yeah, it was like the best implementation of like a 3D cinema experience, which is why when I tried to watch it again at home, I fell asleep because that allure had gone.
You lose, I think, 50% of the interest from it. I mean, it did. I went to see it in 3D, and I have to say it was a good experience.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't predominantly like, and 3D, to be fair, has now kind of fallen to the wayside. Everyone's gone, that's a failed experiment. We're not doing that. But I actually think for Avatar it worked really well because it was... The thing with 3D that I've always had an issue with is they film it in 2D, and then you had to wear shit glasses that didn't enhance the experience very much. But if it's made in... Like I saw Jackass 3D as well, and that was a different experience, but it was still good to watch it in 3D. So I would like... I presume they're not going to do it in 3D, this new Avatar one. I haven't looked into it, but if it was in 3D, I'd go and see it in the cinema in 3D.
So it's 3D or nothing from this boy. Yeah.
Well,
I imagine there'll be the option of it because I think that I haven't been to the cinema consistently for a while now, so could be talking out of my arse. But I feel like there's usually an option for it, even if it is just the standard sort of port jobby, like you said. A lot of films just chuck it in there. But then we've had this 4DX sort of being tabled as ways to do things, so that's an option now. But
I mean, if it was anything above, like even if it was IMAX, I'd be like, what's the point? Like, you're not. I think that's the problem that Avatar's now got, is that the main attraction of it might have sort of died down in the hype train a little bit. I don't know, but a lot of people want to see that story through and see what's kind of Jake Sully is up to.
So here we go. According to hitc.com, no way of verifying them, will Avatar be in 3D? Avatar 2 be in 3D? Yes, Avatar 2 will be shown in 3D, just like its predecessor. But there's a twist. Cameron's production company, Lightstorm Entertainment, in partnership with Christie Digital, has been working on new 3D technology that will remove the need for wearing glasses to see its effects.
How's that work then?
We'll find out in December, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, it's like that 3DS. I don't know if you remember that. That had no glasses 3D. It used to pop out the screen. It was... well, it's all right, but it was impressive tech.
I think if I could see that series through in 3D, like that Avatar for me, that's the USP of it. Is it does that 3D piece really well, and that's what makes it engrossing rather than the hugely interesting narrative or anything like that. So, I would be interested, but on the right terms, I think. But I don't expect it to be as popular as the original one.
It's funny is these days they always talk about this film's made billion or whatever it is at the box office, but you're paying 8 times as much. Like you're kind of always expecting to top the next one because the prices keep going up. I know they do a adjusted for inflation type leaderboard as well, but it always makes me chuckle that this one passed a new milestone. I was like, because it was fucking £5 more pop. So
do you not realise it's like nearly 20 quid a pop at the cinema now?
It used to be £3.
Phenomenally dear. Yeah, it's phenomenally dear.
Under 12s, but it was £3.65. So now you can't get him for less than a tenner. Tenner. It's not a hope in hell. But prices do go up, and that's what happened with Sony as well. And we transition into our first sort of gaming topic. Went from the £60 to the £70 price point for these PlayStation 5 games, and that has caused seemingly a lot of noise in the gaming community around The Last of Us Part 1. So this is the upcoming remake of the PS3 classic released in 2013. And this past week, we started seeing leaks. There was comments on leaks saying, well, there's no new mechanics. Then we saw some footage and people were like, that looks shit, etc. And then on Thursday night, when I was asleep, Sony, PlayStation, Naughty Dog, whoever you want to call it, released a 10-minute overview gameplay trailer, which kind of was aimed to showcase the improvements and featured like interviews from Druckmann and other people that have been working on it. But this has caused a stir in the gaming community. Now, before we get into it, I want to just do a little bit of a history lesson on The Last of Us, just so everyone's working off the facts. Because you keep hearing things that are coming out of mouths that aren't correct. So let's just do the timeline and make sure some specifics are called out. So June 2013, we get The Last of Us. On PS3, £50 UK release date back then. And so we were laughing at that.
What year?
2013, that was. So less than 10 years ago. 9.
Yeah.
August 2014, we got the remaster, which went on PS4. That was released at £40. So wasn't it the £50 at the time, sort of full price point? There was a discount on that. It must be said, the plan was to have it at full price, but 6 to 8 weeks before the release, they decided to knock a tenner off it, basically. Which either suggests not enough people had pre-ordered it, or they were getting flack and didn't like it, whatever it might be. It's a very strange thing for a business to do, to just seemingly cut easy money away. So I feel like there was something behind the scenes there that they thought, well, maybe we need to tempt more people. June 2020, we get part 2. So that's the sequel. That's £55 UK, and that was kind of the going rate for games in the UK from sort of last generation. That was like the swan song for the PS4, along with Ghost of Tsushima. And then in September 2022, we're going to get this £70 PlayStation 5 version, and all Sony first-party games since the PS5 have been £70 UK if you buy that version. There were free upgrades offered for a handful of games, but that's now stopped. So if you're getting PS5 versions, that is the going rate. And there's also a PC release scheduled for later on, but with no date. I thought it was important to mention that the remaster did in fact have some level of discount, even if it wasn't the original plan, because people have been saying they're releasing it 3 times at full price. Well, that's not true, unfortunately. But they were planning to, so the intent was probably there. There's a lot of tribal bollocks going on, as we know. There's a lot of people invested in this. Adkins has seen the 10-minute trailer, and he's all over it. He said he can't wait to play it, etc., etc. Literally 12 hours before, he was like, oh, it's going to get review bombed. And then he saw the gameplay overview and absolutely changed his mind. Oh, baby, I'm hyped. So he's into this remake. But I'm in not a similar boat, probably not as hyped as him, but you're quite detached from the franchise and also PlayStation as a brand, really, because you do a lot of your gaming on the Xbox. I say that's the prime machine for you. So again, getting a different perspective here. Well, what's your thoughts on all this about the controversy? Have people got a point? Is it lazy? Is it creatively bankrupt? Or is it just is what it is? We're gonna get on. You can buy it if you want it. If you don't, bin it.
Well, I think to a certain extent it's all of those things. But you know, you've obviously got the original release, which would have been a full price release back on the PS3.
Yep.
They did that. I'm conscious of, I'll use the word remaster. I don't know what the right term is.
No, it is. It was called The Last of Us Remastered. So
yeah. So they obviously bumped it up a little bit there with the additional tech and everything they had on the PS4. And I guess my perspective is, I think there's a slight distinction between a remaster and a remake. And I think that's where I broadly sit on it in terms of pricing. It doesn't feel right to me that the remaster would have been a full price game.
Right.
So why they tried to do that? I mean, I still even think to a certain extent £40 could be argued for a remaster is still steep. I'd probably say tops 30, because everyone's who's bought the remaster, chances are they've probably already played the original storyline anyway, because this is a heavily narrative based game. I've already got that element out of it, so you're just playing through it for some better looking graphics perhaps and a bit of extra performance. Now, with this specific remake, after watching that 10-minute video, it does look like it is a remake. I mean, the story's there, and the dialogue's the same, but graphically it looks like they've completely revamped it. The AI has been revamped. The haptic feedback and everything they've introduced, and it looks like they've made a load of changes to it, not from a story perspective or a gameplay perspective, just to make it a better game. And they reference the fact that they were limited by the tech, probably on the PS3 and PS4.
PS3
the PS5
definitely, yeah, that would have been a massive struggle on that old shitter.
And they've obviously looked at it and thought, do you know what, we can make some money, but clearly I think there's a desire to do that game justice, and they feel like they can do that better on the PS5. So I guess the question is, for something that people might have already played twice, is there enough in the remake for it to be a full price game?
Yep.
Now, again, as I've already said, I think because this is a heavily narrative-based story and people played it twice, you kind of feel like that's a bit cheeky. But everyone who has played this game loves it. So, for all the work they've put into it technically and graphically, is it worth £70 for that experience? And I'd probably suggest it probably is. So, I think, but if you pay your money, you take your choice. Like, it's there if you want to buy it. If you don't, you can go, it's too expensive, I ain't buying it. Fine. You could argue it should be cheaper. Fine. But really, at the end of the day, I guess it's up to them what they think is a fair, reasonable, or, price of a game like that nowadays. And they feel like they've priced it fairly. But I think like a cut price deal, if you like, would be better for it, just because of the type of game it is.
Yeah, that was a bit of too much of a sensible answer for my liking. I wanted nonsense and noise, but no, very well said. It is. My view is that it's most of the noise is tribal bollocks, isn't it? At least that's why I put a lot of it down to. It's coming from people that probably don't even have a PS5. Aren't planning on getting one, don't really like the game or the original anyway, and just want to be like, wow, disgraceful, blah blah blah, lazy, etc. The truth is, us sitting on the outside have absolutely zero clue of actually how much work, budget, money has been spent to make this thing. So it's difficult to say, well, because it looks like it's lower effort, etc. It should be cheaper. Because at no point do we ever go to other games and say, what was your budget? What'd you spend on that? Oh no, you can't charge 60 for that. No. You charge £30 for that. And there's a robust suite of accessibility features in there as well, which weren't in the original.
Yes.
And Last of Us Part 2, one of the best games of last generation for accessibility. The options on there are insane. Adkins even used it to get collectibles because it would highlight things easier. So not the way it was intended, but he would still use it. But there's an audio descriptive mode in this where, I've, again, fortunate enough that I've never had to sort of lean on that, but that's an incredible amount of effort to narrate what's going on in the game for someone that's impaired and wouldn't be able to do that. The counter argument to that is, what's that sitting behind a £70 paywall for? If you're that good natured, what you hang on, what are we doing? But it's not any single. There's no single reason why this has been made, because for me, the lens I've always looked at this particular release through goes back to I don't know if you'll ever get this. What do you think the biggest change in PlayStation strategy has been in the last 2-3 years? What do you reckon? Not subscriptions. It's where I'll give you a clue. It's where they put their games now. Also. Stung him.
Yeah, you've made me think about it. I could sit here for too long. I'd want to get it.
Well, it's putting their games on PC.
I thought that might be it. Yeah.
Well, of course you did. Now I've told you.
Well, God of War and stuff come into it. Yeah.
Exactly. So that was never on the cards. PlayStation 4, never on the cards on PS3, never on the cards. It's never been on the cards until the last sort of 2 to 3 years where they've started doing that.
Yeah.
So the lens I've always put this on is that they've got people sitting around the table saying, right, we've done God of War, we've done Horizon, we've got Spider-Man coming. I don't know if you saw the trailer for that, but that's getting a lovely PC port with all the bells and whistles that people want. And like, what's another, golden goose of ours? The Last of Us. So how do we get that game onto PC for an audience in 2022? Now, if you want to go down if you want to talk about laziness, they could have just ported the 2014 version and gone,
yeah,
that's done. But they haven't. They've gone in and put a lot of effort into modernising this game, and it's going to be on par with more modern releases. And that the alternative would have been just porting over a 7-year-old version of it, which would have been fine. But there's people saying, well, they're not putting enough effort in. I'm like, well, they could have easily put less effort in. And the byproduct of it going on PC means it has to go on PS5, because can you imagine the bloody murder if they just did a PC version like this and went, it's not coming to console. And then, to be fair, Sony's strategy and Sony's marketing communication has always been the same. First party, it's 70 UK pounds, whether you like it or not. And we had this with Returnal last year. I personally said that doesn't look like something that I would necessarily dive in for £70, and I didn't. And guess what? Now it's sitting on PlayStation Plus Extra, the subscription service that I have, and I can play it on that. So it's a tricky one, because people want them to break the mould of what they're doing. You could argue they should give everything away for cheaper, but it's just not. No.
It's a business, right? So
I'll go to Phil and say, can you give Game Pass away for free? Because I want it as cheap as possible. And look, I know there's a massive difference in value there, but that's the reality of the situation.
The thing is, it's easy to be. It's like when I look at the price of petrol, and I know this is a strange way for me to go. Now, I'm not speaking now, but before it got silly. But you pay £1.30 for a litre of petrol. How much do you pay for a bottle of Coke? Right,
that these days.
And this is what I mean. It's difficult sometimes to understand the value of things, and when you compare them to other things, and you think about how much effort really goes into producing a AAA game, the amount of man hours it must cost, and everything. Like, there's a huge amount of cost that goes into it, and really, £70 isn't a whole lot of money. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd prefer.
Crapped on everyone.
Well, I'd prefer not to. Everyone naturally wants something for nothing, right? No one wants to pay more than they have to. But ultimately, you've got to give it to Sony. They're producing extremely good first-party games at the moment. And is £70 an unreasonable amount for those? And it's like everything. If you don't want it and you go, I don't want it that much.
I don't want to go and see Avatar 2 at the cinema. I'll wait for it to come for a £5 to rent on fucking Roku or whatever it is.
Yeah. And these are the decisions that you have to make.
And
to be fair
not
to
allowed,
Sony,
I'm afraid, because these adults can't make them. I'm being told they have to.
They
have to buy it. They have to.
It's
been forced. It's like running water has gone up. It's like it's a necessity. They treat it like it's not a piece of entertainment.
This is the thing. You sort of have to choose what you think is worth your money.
Yeah.
And to be fair to Sony, if they've come out and said everything is going to be £70, if they release this at 50, they'll go, well, why is this 50 then?
Yeah,
we'll make every game 50. And you just, I mean, to a certain extent, they've shot themselves in their foot.
Oh yeah.
So I don't think you should come out and say everything is going to be this price. What you should do is just release things at the price that you want to sell them at. Whether that's £70, £50, full. Like it's your store, it's your console. You can sell it at whatever you want. So why even hamstring yourself like that? Like, you don't need to. But I think it looks to me like they've put a significant amount of work in it. They've taken the feedback from the community, allegedly, put things like speed running modes in. Yeah. So it's not like they've just, redone the graphics, bumped it up, frame rate up, and said, there you go. They've really put some effort into it, and I think it would when they say this is the best way to play The Last of Us, I probably would agree with them.
Okay, yeah, well, it will be, won't it?
It will be.
It'll be
Yeah.
unless they bollocks it up, technically, or something goes wrong. I mean, you say, I mean, I daren't say that because I'll curse it, but you're outside the bubble, so you're allowed to say no. It's unlikely that Naughty Dog of all studios would do that.
Everyone's worried about it because of what happened to that GTA trilogy.
Mate.
But Rockstar outsourced that.
Yeah.
I mean, they blew it, but it wasn't the actual Rockstar
Well, that's
studio.
the conundrum, because now people are saying, well, why are Naughty Dog team wasting time on a remake? And it's like, well, if you outsource stuff, it's a danger that it comes in garbage. At least
you can't have it both ways.
No.
It's everyone. I get this, right, because everyone wants the new IP, the new story. But the simple fact is, I think there is still value, and we spoke about this last week. Games nowadays move on technologically, graphically very quickly, and we don't really notice it because it happens iteratively.
Yeah.
But when you go back and play something now that's 5, 7, 8 years old, it feels dated.
Yeah.
And we spoke about it with Titanfall 2. I can't go back and play that properly and enjoy it properly because it feels dated to me. So I think that there is real merit in a select number of games for a select reason in using the technology to make them better. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. In the same way that I've just played Modern Warfare for the past 2-3 years, really.
Yeah.
That, to all intents and purposes, was a remastered game with all the remastered maps, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So what's the problem? And they're going to do it with Modern Warfare 2 again. So hopefully I'll be saying the same thing. What's the problem? You can't always have it every way. Everyone wants to enjoy their favourite games from the past, but they want all these studios to be constantly working on the next new thing, next new shiny game. And it's like, hang on a minute, we can have both. You just got to be patient.
Yeah. And look, I don't even know if I'm going to buy this day one, because that's a bit rich for my blood, even 70 UK pounds. I'm kind of like, do I need to play it immediately? It's one of my favourite games, but I've got other stuff to be getting on with. It's not a necessity to have it.
It's not going anywhere.
No, and because I know the story and whatnot, there's less of that. Oh, better get in before Adkins fucking tells me the ending. Or the usual spoiler fucking dodging you have to do when something big and new comes out. So the price wise, I think it's too high for me. But I don't. It's not, like I said. It's not running water. This isn't a necessity. I can live without it for a few months, and then when it's at 50, maybe I'll think, oh, that sounds more appealing. Maybe I'll do it then. Like, I'm just going to make a decision based on at the time what I feel's appropriate. You touched on like the creative side of things there, around we want the new thing. What in theory, we're taking away time from them working on other stuff that they could be doing. And I thought, well, there is merit to that. This is creatively quite bankrupt, isn't it? There's nothing new being done. The writing's all done. The captions, the performances are all done. So if you want something new from this world, you're not going to get that. You are going to get a retread. Then I thought, you know what? Let's have get some stats. Let's go through actually how productive have Naughty Dog been since The Last of Us 2013 edition come out, and compare it against their peers, which are the other PlayStation studios that are under the banner. So let's start with Sony Santa Monica. Okay, that's the guys that done God of War. Since 2013, they've released God of War Ascension on PlayStation 3, roundly crapped on. And in 2018, they released God of War. So 2 games in that time period. They're about to release Ragnarok, providing there's no delays.
Yeah.
So that's their output. Make what you will of it. What we've got, Polyphony Digital here. Polyphony for Digital, rather. Gran Turismo 6 in 2013. Gran Turismo Sport in 2017. Gran Turismo 7 in 2020. 3 car games. I mean, we talk about creative bankruptcy. I mean, that is... There's not a lot going on there, is there? Guerrilla Games, 2013. Killzone Shadowfall. 2017, Horizon Zero Dawn, new IP. 2022, Horizon Forbidden West. They've washed their hands of it after that, so 3 games. Bend Studio, 2019, Days Gone. The last game they released before that is in 2012. So they've only got 1 out the door. Sucker Punch. There we go, I've got the wrong tab open here. Sucker Punch. 2014, Infamous Second Son. Also had a DLC add-on, Infamous First Light. 2020 Ghost of Tsushima, 2021 Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, and Ghost of Tsushima Legends. So 2 full games, and that's your lot. Insomniac. Now these are the wizards. They've actually released about 18 games. Honestly, it's about 12. There's an iOS game in there. There's stuff for Windows, but they're the exception to the rule. They are the absolute wizards, and they came to the fold of Sony a bit later on. Naughty Dog. 2013, we got The Last of Us. 2014, we got the DLC for that, Last of Us Left Behind. We also got Last of Us Remastered for PS4. Then 2016, we got Uncharted 4, Thief's End, one of your favourites. 2017, Uncharted, The Lost Legacy, the spin-off. 2020, The Last of Us Part 2. 2022, we've had Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection, so that is the remaster of 4 and Lost Legacy. And then in September, we're going to get The Last of Us Part 1. So they ain't had thumb up arse in comparison to the other studios, have they? Really?
No. I think it's just because everyone really likes the Naughty Dog stuff. I'm not saying that they don't the others, but maybe they've been a victim of their own success there. It's a strange, because everyone's, no one's sitting there at Santa Monica going, come on, what are you doing?
Yeah.
They're like,
well, they were until that release date came. They were fucking getting up their arse over it, but...
Well, yeah, because they were delaying it a bit. But do you know what I mean? There's no one going, what are you doing? Where's me deals? Where's this? Where's that? But maybe if they'd have been working on a remaster at the same time, everyone would be going, hello, where's Ragnarok?
Yeah.
It's difficult because sometimes if you're working on different things, you get criticised. But they've been reasonably productive. I don't think, 3, 4, 5 years for some of these games is that unrealistic, considering the amount of development and work they have to put in.
No, they've been. I mean, I get people when they say, "Oh, they're only doing The Last of Us and Uncharted." I do understand that, but let's take a look at the other side of the fence. You've got 343. What do they make?
Yeah,
Bad Halo games now.
I didn't want to say it. I thought you were trying to trap me there.
No, I wasn't.
I was going to say a load of old shit or something like that.
I'm being nasty on purpose. Coalition. What do they make? Gears of War.
Yeah.
Why aren't they getting criticised?
No, I know.
This notion that every studio is pumping out brand spanking new IPs and new fucking games every generation is just the nonsense in most cases. In most cases.
We already had a Gears of War remaster essentially anyway.
Yeah, we had Ultimate Edition.
Ultimate.
No, I would love 2 and 3 to be remastered.
But this is what I mean. I don't know why. I don't know why it's seen as lazy to do remakes and remasters.
Right,
that was the one thing.
It's seen as lazy, yeah.
Yeah.
But we're taking away all this time from this other project. It can't be both, can it? It can't be a lazy effort where they're putting low amounts of effort in, and it's also having a detrimental effect on this new project.
Yeah,
that's now lost a year of its project life cycle. And of course, it hasn't.
Yeah. But everyone wants it. It's like, forget the fact that they've developed a game. They're probably, if I had developed something and I was proud of that, well, yeah, so do I. If a world in which I'm touching that is a worrying one. But if I developed something and I was proud of it, I probably would be looking and thinking, imagine all the stuff we could do with this game.
Yeah.
Now we've got better tech to do it. And you would feel like internally, there's a desire to do it so that you get the better outcome and satisfaction yourself. But the simple fact is it's easily marketable. You know that will generate sales because with a new game, it can easily bomb or not be successful. There's an element of the unknown about it. So even from a studio and a publishing perspective, there's an element of safety in knowing that you're going to get some revenue from that, and it's largely going to be popularly received. The GTA trilogy is the exception to the rule. Beyond that, I don't really know too many remasters that haven't been well received or popular within the community.
No. Well,
Gears of War Ultimate was fantastic.
Yeah.
Modern Warfare remastered, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, excellent. You go down the list, and doing this is a very easy way. If you look at it from a business perspective, to make money. But I can completely understand why some studios want to do it. It makes sense.
And I go back to this is a path to getting it on PC. Anyway,
that is an excellent point as well. When you said that, I was like, I can understand that because if you try and get things over to PC and it's as you said, a 7-year-old game with a bit of a remaster on it, it's really not going to have that
pop.
Yeah.
It's not going to have the buzz, is it? And, you know, Biff, bless him, has played The Last of Us original about 12 times. Even he will say it feels creaky and old now. Like, it does feel its age. And it's... I'll take his opinion over anyone else's because he's played it the most out of anyone I've ever spoke to. So he knows that game inside out. In fact, he was complaining about the AI because, I know where they all go. I'm going to have to relearn it all, he said. But maybe you'll pick up the controller and you'll go, this feels the same. And maybe it will be a blower. That's the other factor. We don't know how the game's going to feel. But I don't know. I felt like the overreaction on both sides was a little bit too intense. Like, I get the pricing thing, I do, because I can see why from the outside you would look at that and go, that's too expensive. But just don't buy it. I mean, it's not, I know Sony are trying their luck. I'm actually interested to see how well this does. Whether the people do like me, who would probably buy most of the Sony stuff day one, go, maybe not this one. Even if it's just because God of War's coming in 2 months, that's brand new. You'd want to, perhaps you were saving money and you thought, well, if I'm going to get one of them, I'm going to get God of War because it's new.
It's a tricky time to be doing that as well. I mean, I think if you're looking at it from a PR or branding perspective, in a time when we're entering likely to be a pretty much a global recession of some sort, economies are struggling, inflation's through the roof. If you do things like this and go, do you know what? We know things are, households are tight. We're going to do something. We're going to put this out a bit lower. I don't know. I just think that I can understand why, because even when there's inflation, they've got higher costs as well. So they can't just, they've got a smaller revenue and sort of P&L to play with. But I still think it would have been nice if they'd done something like that. And I think they would. Now's a difficult time to be releasing a remake, even considering the amount of work they've done with it at a brand new IP selling point.
Top dollar
I think
price,
that's top dollar. I think that might be. They might see it struggle a little bit more than perhaps they thought.
And that's good because they'll see the market, and the market will soon tell them that's too high, and then they can maybe next time think, well, I probably shouldn't do that, because it behooves them to find the balance of price versus demand, and to maximise that middle ground. Perhaps making it lower price means you get more sales, and it overcomes the £20 deficit. That's for the bean counters to work out, but. That's the main thing I'm actually interested in. I think it'll actually struggle, personally. I do think it will. And that might be a message back to Jim going, no, pack it in, which is fine. But I just don't like this fucking end of the world bollocks that I've had to listen to for... I'll be happy when it's out and then everyone can just shut up about it. And that'll be...
one way or the other.
Yeah.
There'll be... You always got your critics. There'll always be people that ain't happy with whatever you're chucking out. But I think... I'm broadly happy with people continuing to make good games continually playable and keeping them up to scratch with modern technology, graphics, and things. I don't think that's a bad thing, but pricing them right is important.
Agreed. So that's The Last of Us Part 1 dealt with. That should be the end of it now, since they've officially shown it. One of the problems was they didn't show it properly. They just talked about it loads. And people were like, well, what are they up to? What does it look like? So that's...
I don't know why they don't learn. I know we want to move on, but it's like, learn. I don't know why people don't just cut... You've got an opportunity always just to quell the bollocks and go, this is what we've done. Yeah. Take it or leave it. We think we've done a good job. If you don't like it, stick it up your arse. I don't know why they just talk about this stuff. Like, show people it's a game. Yeah. People want to see it. Just, I don't know. But anyway.
That's that. Number 2... EA's last FIFA has been announced, not to the surprise of anyone. 30th of September 2022, FIFA 23. This will be the last FIFA licensed game that's been created, developed, made by Electronic Arts. It comes to an end after decades. What's that? 93? 94?
Oh, do you know what? As you said that, I was trying to think of when the first one I remember was FIFA 95, but I think it might have even gone back to 92.
Yeah,
it might have gone back to 92, but
I'll look it up. Yeah, but anyway, it's been a fruitful relationship for both parties, and then seemingly they couldn't get any terms in place, and now this is going to be the last one. That'll be the end of it. FIFA International Soccer 1993. Electronic Arts, yeah. So, long old time. Close to 30 years. Almost 30. Well, 23. Yeah.
Pretty much.
29-ish. Yeah, it's fucking impressive. But gone now, flushed, because EA say FIFA are a bunch of greedy cunts, basically. They want to...
That's probably fair.
They want to up the prices and take away the exclusivity and use it for other things. But... So this is... I mean, I don't know. When's the last FIFA game you bought?
Oh, God. Just have a little look. It might have been... I can see FIFA 13. What's that doing there?
Cool.
FIFA 15, FIFA 21, which I got with I got that with the Series X.
Right. Nice.
So that was... I didn't technically buy it. Yeah, I got it bundled in. I played it for a bit, but... yeah, I haven't... I think I might have bought FIFA 19 or something like that. I reckon that was the last one that I properly bought.
Yeah, and played. Yeah, because we were both Pro Evo converts.
Yes.
After basically when the 360 launched and the PS3, Konami blew it. And then
they did.
They fucking chucked
it back.
And now they've got eFootball lurking. But you were sent off to kind of read up about the features of FIFA 23. We will get into that, but I want to talk about this licensing issue because next year we're going to have EA Football Club, I think they're calling it, from EA. What's your perspective on impact on sales, or will it have any impact? Will people... Because FIFA are clearly at some point going to try and make a FIFA 24 with another partner. I don't know how you can spin together a game like that in a year's time, because obviously FIFA 23 is building off decades worth of work, research, knowledge. But do EA lose anything from this other than not having to pay this extortionate fucking price to have FIFA slapped on it? Because they've still got all the licenses. They've still got the FIFA Pro license, which secures most of the player likenesses and leagues and whatnot. It will just be a change of what's on the box. But I guess at some point, for casuals, that might be something they're looking for. And you're relying on the luck of someone in game coordinating you to the right game.
Yeah, I mean... that's exactly what I was thinking. It's like it could still be the same game underneath, but people walk in and go, "Oh, FIFA! Do you want to play FIFA?" People aren't generic. They need to do some sort of marketing.
Here's what I thought.
To make.
I say about 6 months' time in FIFA 23 on the billboards in the back, you start putting EA Football Club 24. I don't know if they could do that. There may well be an agreement to say, you cannot advertise another game inside this game. But if that was a loophole that EA could use, I'd absolutely, in the game even, saying we'll be launching EA Football Club in 6 months, like have it somewhere, just to start to program people to get used to it. But
because surely FIFA, their name FIFA is just a licensing, they're just being licensed. So theoretically, even with that license, I mean, there'll be some contractual clauses, no doubt, somewhere in that licensing agreement, but they're going to have to do something to say this ain't going to be called FIFA next year. Because as you say, I'd be surprised if they ain't chucking out a game, and they're not going to be using everything that they're using at the minute. So, I mean, I'd be interested to see whether FIFA themselves try and do something, as you said, with another partner, but I suspect not. It's more than likely EA will just carry on under a different title, but I think it's really important because FIFA carries a brand and everything. Like
tarnished,
the name,
I'd say.
Well, as I say, I'm not too sad about it either way, to be honest. My biggest request has always been not to do these yearly. It's unnecessary.
Well, we're talking about creative bankruptcy again. These are full price every fucking year for seemingly team updates. We don't
basically. It got so iterative with the updates.
Yeah.
Then they started making the games worse, and I was like, "What are we doing? How can you have it like so close to perfection one year, and then just almost like slow it down by 50% the next year and stuff?" But I've always thought they should be sort of every 2 or 3 years, probably 3 years, and then release a new one. I think it should just be squad updates for a couple of years. But yeah, I think however the EA do it, they just need to make people realise next year, if you go into the shop looking for FIFA 24, it ain't going to be there.
No. Yeah.
But I don't think it'll hurt them too much.
What's that FIFA president's name? Gianni Infantino.
Yes.
Yeah. So his response, when you said, "Oh, I don't know if they will make their own game," and the talk is cheap because this is not an easy process for them to do, but he did say the only authentic, real game that has the FIFA name will be the best one available for gamers and football fans. This was after the news had officially been announced.
Yeah.
They were gonna. So he thinks they're going to do it, but he's obviously got absolutely no idea how much toil it'll be to build a new football game from the ground up, because that's what it's going to be. I think
he's chucked that bollocks out there.
Yeah.
That's what I would label that as, a bluster. Yeah. It is. It's got to be. Yeah. I mean, whatever you think about eFootball and stuff, the best football game out there is still that FIFA game that's produced by EA. Like everything they do
ticks all
the boxes. So how are you going to produce something when, as you said, that's pretty much 30 years worth of knowledge and development and iterative production to get it to a point where it is now, to then somehow think they can exceed that in a year? Like, it's just stupid. It is just stupid. And naive to think that that's even possible. So, and why would they do it? Like, what? Because surely FIFA's benefit is, you could argue brand and money, but it's like, why would you go to all that effort and cost of producing your own game? Just, it's weird.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see cricket doing that, or rugby. Like, why would the governing body of football do that? It's just a strange one, I think.
Yeah, they're just floundering a bit, aren't they? Because they've not got this hook into an audience to just plaster FIFA everywhere. It was just they were given money to just give over a name, essentially.
It's free. It's honestly, it's so stupid. Yeah, it's literally free money.
Yeah.
And if FIFA have got greedy or whatever it is, then that's just ridiculous.
No.
Or whether EA, it's easy to point the finger at FIFA, but it might have been EA going, "Look, come on, what are we doing here now?"
Yeah, I think it was. They're not paying that anymore. It's ridiculous. Did you take a look at the game, the trailer?
I watched the trailer.
Anything, or is it again? Is it more? We talked about bluster from old Giovanni. What? This is not the usual noise I see coming out of FIFA. Is this Hypermotion 2 technology? I'm like, well, what's that mean? Like, there's a lot of noise to make these changes feel like substantial steps forward. His name's Gianni, they're clearly not Giovanni, not Van Bronckhorst.
Yeah. It's really difficult because whenever I watch it, I'm just like, it's FIFA. Like, it just looks like,
which is fine. It is what it is. It's the best selling, one of the best selling games of a year. What we don't break what's doesn't need fixing.
Yeah, but then
the
difficulty is everyone's going, well, if it's not broken, why are you releasing a new one every year? What are you adding?
Because you keep buying it, you fucks.
Well, this is why I've stopped.
Yeah.
I was going to say earlier, the best way to try and influence things in a market is to vote with your feet and vote with your pocket. And not everyone follows, but at least I can sit here and go, well, I ain't paying for that. I ain't endorsing that. No. I'm not buying it every year. Apart from the fact I'm thoroughly bored of it.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to criticise it because as we said, it's very successful. It's the most successful football game. So why change it? But I just can't sit there playing it. No. It's just like watching paint dry for me these days. I used to love playing football games, but I don't know what it is. I feel like, like some of the soul's gone out of them. I always felt like, weirdly, the best part of the football game was doing ridiculous things, but they've almost become so realistic that it's then it's become less of a video game and more of a simulation. And I know that's a really strange criticism, but I remember sometimes you get the ball on the right wing or whatever and you just dribble it through and just launch one from 35 yards or whatever.
Go in.
I used to just enjoy being Ibrahimovic. I'd do a turn and just shoot from that anywhere, and it caused the keeper some problems. And that's what I used to enjoy, like the audacity of it, and rather than the absolute realism. But yeah, I don't know. This Hypermotion 2, I was watching it and I was like, I kind of see what you're trying to get at. It's like more realistic movement. It's like, but it already seemed realistic to me. So it's like, how much more realistic is this making it? I find that difficult to quantify, to be honest.
Well, you're going to get the women's club football in there, so you can deal with that. And
I mean, if there's, it's dangerous territory. This that
I said it.
all of because you get yourself cancelled before you know it. But in all seriousness, it's like, how many people are that interested in women's football that buy FIFA? And I'm not convinced.
There might be a load of women out there that have like suddenly got, because let's be honest, I don't particularly enjoy watching it too much. I don't particularly enjoy watching football these days unless it's England that are on. To be quite frank, but that has got a lot more popular in the last decade. It's been.
I'd agree.
It wasn't. It wasn't even a thing, was it? It was like, what are you talking about women's football? They're like, oh, they play. What are you talking? Now it's on telly. You got Sky Sports News coverage. You got the Euros that are just packing up now, and like. It's a thing now, so you may as well.
Yeah, I don't know whether I don't know why they make such a big deal of it. I think it's like I don't mind it being in there. Like, it's fair enough. Like, there's much more interest in it, and there is clearly a bigger market. But I don't think that's a substantial reason to. I always sometimes feel like. So basically, I feel like they use it as a marketing technique to show how progressive they've been. And to be fair to FIFA, they were the first ones to go, do you know what, we're going to put women's football in here.
Yeah, I remember that a few years ago. I think I actually was doing a podcast, and it was the first time it popped. I'm sure there was all manner of sexist comments made back then, but you could get away with it back then. Now, not allowed to even make a joke about it.
You could get away with it. No, I just find it strange how they... But it's not just FIFA, to be fair. No. All the football teams show their kits now with the women's kit as well and stuff. It's just a different world. But
it's the only success that Man United have is through the women's team. So they're obviously going to champion it until they sort that men's team out.
Take what you can get, basically.
Anyway,
maybe Spurs should do that.
Well, we'll see how they get on with Conte and co. FIFA anyway, 30th of September for those that are interested. Parky will be on it. He loves that. Loves these pro clubs and whatnot, and good on them. Number 3, not really much to say here other than pat on the back for when it comes, but Xbox are adding Discord chat. So currently on the Insider program. It's a bit of a pain to set up and authorise. I looked through the steps. There's a lot of faffing with phones. So hopefully they can smooth that out during the Insider program. But as someone who's played a little bit of PC gaming alongside people that are on Xboxes and other consoles, it's really helpful just to have Discord now. And it's a job well done that's coming to Xbox. I assume, considering Sony pumps some money into Discord, they're a minority stakeholder. They'll also look to get the functionality over on the PlayStation. But Phil, doing the right thing, making sure the roadmap's there and getting stuff done. So I don't know if you've got anything to add really, other than that's something for people to look out for if they're outside of the Insider programs. It should drop in the public in the next few months.
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously got several people that are split across PC and console and stuff, and I think anything that can help bridge that gap is a good thing. I know that all the PC boys love a bit of Discord, whereas I'm a bit like, just use party chat. What's the problem? I don't understand this fascination.
It's because the PC Discord party chat is awful on Xbox.
Right.
Like, it just does it. I've had trouble with it, and it's not no chat system is complex, but for whatever reason, I have had issues with the PC chat, especially cross-platform. It's just not as good as it needs to be. But if Discord's there, and I don't know if it will usurp the party chat. I don't think it will, but it should make things easier for those that are using it. Because there's people now that have got their phones out. They connect their earbud into their phone for the chat, and they put the headphones over the top. Now it should be integrated with their. Because not just that, it's all these communities are all on Discord as well. Like fan communities and whatnot. There's a lot that can be done.
I get it's kind of taken over, and I know that we lurk between the Dimp Discord and WhatsApp and stuff, and so it's always been somewhat entrenched. But yeah, I think it's a good thing, if not just to make it easier, by the sounds of it, for the PC crowd. Indeed.
Last one, number 4, just says Warzone, because I think you wanted to moan about it. So go on then. I'm not a Warzone player, but I want to hear the abuse that's maybe coming their way.
Well, I don't really know if it's abuse or not. It's more just a rant, I think. To try and reach Activision to say what you're doing. But basically, Warzone was obviously released with Verdansk, this sort of battle royale mode for Call of Duty. We've seen, Black Ops come and go, Vanguard come now, Modern Warfare 2's on the way. Now they've been pretty good at trying to refresh the Warzone modes and provide some variety for players. I mean, look, I'll be completely frank. I've hated all of the events that they do. Largely, I think that the best version of Warzone was that OG version before Black Ops
It
come
always
along.
is.
Before Vanguard.
Every one of these games, people go, "Oh, I want World of Warcraft's a perfect example." You got Sir Dave going, "Oh, WoW Classic! I can't believe my luck, it's back." Everyone yearns for the original nostalgia of when it caught
it's
fire,
difficult because if they do nothing, they go, "Oh, you just sat on this and just took in billions of pounds and done nothing with it." So it's always tricky, but there's a balance to be had, I think. And they had the big battle royale mode, and they've done weird things at times, like limited that to certain numbers of parties and things. You go, right, why can we only play this solo or quads? Like, why we got duos and trios? And that's always been a bit of a frustration. But then they introduced the rebirth modes, which is kind of a bit of a watered down, smaller, close quarters, team deathmatch style battle royale, which has been very popular and has been there in the background. Now, recently, I think it was probably about a month ago now, but they released a new map called Fortune's Keep.
Yeah.
And it pulled me and various others, the old crowd back together. The OG Warzone crowd are back on it, and we're really enjoying it. And it's a really good mode. Forget the fact that there's always a meta and there's overpowered guns. That's fine. Like the map and everything, the gameplay and this like back to basics approach was back, and it was good fun to play. And you find yourself on it for 3 hours a night again. You go, this is great. Really enjoying myself here. So we've had that for about 3 weeks. Jump on last night. You can only play quads. So 1, 2, 3 players can't play. You can only play
quads or
4.
nothing.
Yeah, quads or nothing.
Can you matchmate with slops?
Yeah, but why?
But why would you? Yeah.
It literally makes it impossible. It's just not. Honestly, it's just ridiculous.
So what did it used to do beforehand? Would it matchmake you into a game with a game with only other trios or doubles, or would you just be? Could you be a trio with a load of quads running around? Like, was it a bit of a mix and match?
Yeah. So you can choose to fill or not. So I could be a solo in a trios game, a solo in a quads game, or whatever. Like you can do that if you want to. But generally, people, if they're on their own, they'll go into a solo, duos. If it's 2 of you, you're going to duos. 3 of you, you're going to trios. Right. Like that's generally speaking what the majority of people do, because it's like, why would you want to, unless you're a sick pup, be on your own against teams of 3? Like it just makes it really hard. But not only that, we joined a game, so we were like, all right, we'll give it a go. So 3 of us were there. We had a random in there called WKD Mike. Instantly, from his gamer tag, I thought he's not going to be any good at this, and he wasn't. WKD Mike. So I knew it wasn't going to go well. As soon as we marked the drop point, and WKD Mike just decided to go somewhere else anyway, and I was like, well, this is going to be difficult. But anyway, in the first chest we've opened up, or one of in the first 10 seconds, a load of zombies have started coming out of the floor. Right, so now you Frank running around. You're going, why is this chest now spawned zombies? Why are we doing that? What kind of event is this? Why are there zombie chests out of nowhere in this shooting game that's got no reference to zombies at any point? So yeah, obviously then we've got to kill all these zombies because they're trying to kill us and whatnot. So you find yourself doing that, and then a team comes down and attacks you because they know where you are because you're shooting a load of zombies. But basically, it just annoys me that they don't just give why do they not just put the content out there and let people enjoy it? Literally 3 weeks of good content in the game for the first time in probably about a year, maybe longer. And within 3 weeks, they've done an update to it where you can only play quads and you've got zombies coming out of the ground. What are we doing? Seriously.
Yeah. I mean, it must be one of the worst jobs in the world trying to run one of these live service games, because you never know what's going to stick. Then you have to separate the noisy bastards from the numbers, and you want to have a balance because you want to keep your hardcores happy, and you don't want, because bad word can spread quickly amongst community members. But yeah,
all of the events that they've had, Fortnite have had great success with their events, but what Fortnite do is they go, here's our event mode, here's the bog standard one if you want to play it, right? So when Fortnite have done it, they've typically run these things alongside a standard mode. Typically, when Activision do it, they go, you can play our event mode or not at all. And it just annoys me that they don't concurrently run these things. So if you want to play the event mode and you like that and you prefer it and you want to do challenges and things, fine, here it is. But if you just like our bitch basic mode that's got none of the bollocks in it, here it is. I just don't understand why they, like last night when I've gone on there, why have you stripped out? Why, and then I've got to play an old map from 2 years ago if I want to play with a trio, with three of us. It's just so frustrating that they don't just put content in and then give you the choice of what of that content you want to play with your friends.
No good.
They it just typifies everything that I feel that they've done wrong over the past couple of years with Warzone. They've just not. Every time they've got something good, they fuck it up.
Well, they got Warzone 2 coming next year, or whenever it is. So can
they be trusted?
Well,
no,
it won't matter anyway because none of your progress is carrying over. So that's a full reset for you to consider.
Well, there isn't really progress.
Well, I guess not.
There's not, there's not really progress with it. It's just, badges and things and stuff like that. But I don't think anyone would be too disappointed to lose that. Yeah, it's just they're just super frustrating sometimes. They just they strike gold and just go, we're just going to fuck this up.
Yeah, you can talk to any person that's played any of these service games. At some point, they'll all go through this miserable patch where they just the game's doing everything you don't want it to do. Your modes that you like's been released. I know Dave has a. Well, he mainly loves Destiny, but he's definitely been in moments where he's like, "This is awful at the moment. Like they've blown this, and it's about them recovering, trying to get back into it." But yeah, I always like to get, because we don't talk about Warzone very rarely ever, because I don't play it. And Adkins, I think he has played it, but doesn't play it either. But love a good old rant as well. Well, we're gonna have to do the promised review of Stray. So let's get into that. Yeah. So cards on the table. I mean, this is the studio's first game. So that's the first thing to say. Is this is a brand new game from a studio that hasn't existed before. Blue 12 Studio, a small team from the south of France, mostly made of cats. Mostly made of cats and a handful of humans. Okay, they're being funny. I see, cheeky bastards. Catch me out where I haven't read it properly. So there's nothing really to say on that front, other than I don't know who the hell these people are. In terms of cats, because this is the main pull of the game, I'm not a cat person. But
no,
I'm more of a dog person. But I'm not anti-cat. There's a distinction to be made there, because there's people out there that are anti-cat.
Yes,
because they've got a dog or a fucking hamster or something. And look, I'm pro-animal, so I'd like to have a cat. It's just that I've got a dog at the moment. And my neighbour next door hates cats. So I'm like, well, I don't want to find his carcass strewn out on the fucking lawn where he's crapped in it. But I do love animals, so this was almost a no-brainer. It's on the PlayStation Plus extra tiers we've mentioned in previous episodes. It's selling on the PlayStation Store for 25 UK pounds. So if people want to buy it separately, they can do that. Oh, I don't know where to start with this, really. I'll let you in on this. When I was younger, you know those little fairy things that float around? What are they called? Those little, like... I don't know what the name is. We used to call them fairies when I never...
You blow them and they go...
Yeah, they go off. And you meant to do a wish, didn't you? That's what they tell you when you're a kid. They're like, I used to get those and then wish to be a cat.
All right.
Because the idea of being a cat looked so cool to me that you could just go anywhere you wanted. Nice and agile, you just climb up and go around the village. You had no responsibilities. Never came true. So there's a part of me that when I saw this game, I was like, I'm going to have to be a cat. Finally. Like,
well, you got your wish.
I've got my wish.
Maybe 15, 20 years later.
Yeah. So, I guess in a roundabout way, I was quite excited for this game, but also wary because it's the studio's first game. Now, we mentioned the reviews that have come in, sitting on an 84, so that's a very good score for an indie type game. But yeah, I wanted to just sneak that in there as the last sort of cards on the tables. And also, we should do this because I think it's a good thing to do, is to read some stuff off the store page just to set.
Yeah,
set
I enjoy this. Yeah.
So we've got What is Stray? Lost, injured, and alone, a stray cat must untangle an ancient mystery to escape a long-forgotten city. Stray is a third-person cat adventure game set amidst detailed neon-lit alleys of a decaying cyber city and the murky environments of its seedy underbelly. See the world through the eyes of a stray and interact with the environment in playful ways. Key features: explore the cyber city, be stealthy, befriend a drone.
Yeah, it's an interesting mashup, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's very wholesome. That's what I will say. It's very wholesome because you start the game and you're actually in like a little, I don't know what you call a group of cats, like a clan or whatever. There's like you're controlling this one cat and I think there's 3 others around and you're just in this sort of like green overgrowth type world. You're just sort of wandering around, and then you, as the cat, you go to make a jump on this pipe, and it's rusty, and you fall down, 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 and that's where you get injured, and you're broken up from your compadres. They're all going.
I didn't like that.
No, it actually wasn't nice to watch. My biggest fear actually at the start was that someone's going to come along and snatch your friends, and you had to go and save them, and you'd find them later on in some awful state. But you get lost, and you want to get back to them. And then when you land in this strange world, like it mentions on the store page, it is just this weird cyber city where there's only robots there. There's no humans there at all. They're programmed robots. They seem to be sentient, though. They have a level of understanding about what's going on. They're not just following. They're not just cleaning the floor. Some are, but most of them have a level of intellect, it seems, behind them. And you bump into and pick up the friend in the sort of the little drone fella. His name's B12, and he essentially is your conduit for like opening doors and stuff. He can hack doors, he can do electrical stuff, and that helps you during your puzzle solving. He gives you a little jacket to wear, which allows him to sort of sit within that and allows him to translate what the robots are saying, etc. But it's very wholesome, other than that sort of opening bit where you fall down the fucking drains and you're like, it's a nice wholesome game. But yeah, I don't know if you've got any questions. It's a puzzle adventure game, a little bit of exploration, but
yeah, it's so I again, cards on the table from me. I've got 2 cats, so I have always had cats in my life, and I like cats. I wouldn't say I'm either specific. I'm an animal man or an animal person. I haven't really got a huge preference between dog or cat, because I would have a dog, but like you, I've just got cats at the moment. It's just the way that things have worked. I've ended up with cats, and I think they're great animals. They're much more interesting than a lot of people probably give them credit for. And I saw this game and thought, I like cats, but is it really going to be that accurate representation of a cat? Is it going to give me that, not that I want to be a cat, but is it going to give me that experience of what it would be like to be a stray cat? And I think so. I've watched half an hour of opening gameplay on it, and I think I'd agree. I'd say it does seem very wholesome, other than that initial experience where you're this, you can meow to give you pointers and stuff. And it's very accurate. The movement of the cat itself and how the cat moves is very lifelike.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask you that, because to me it looked lifelike, but I don't spend a load of time with them, so it's a bit of like an amateur hour eye over it. And I was going to ask, what you've seen, is it an accurate portrayal? And it sounds like it is.
I mean, even down to when they're playing in that opening scene, that's literally how my 2 cats muck around. Like, one's licking the other's head and like do all this kind of stuff. And I was like, it's literally it's clearly done by people, and you'd expect if people are making a game that's based around a stray cat that they're going to have some experience or like cats. It seems obvious, but you never know. But yeah, I liked that sort of playfulness that it's got. It's kind of like it's not this serious game because cats are playful animals and things. And it seems like it's got that playful element about it. And they're also super curious. Like there's one part of it where you see them like knocking stuff off, and you think I'm forever just having to pick shit up off the floor where they've just gone, don't need that on there.
Yeah, because I was like role playing as a cat almost. I was like, what would a cat do? I'd pull that off there.
Yeah, like
knock things on the floor.
Harry will have stuff like his toys on the floor or whatever, and they'll just go up and like mess around with them. Like he'll have a train set out, and they'll go up and like push the train along or whatever.
Yeah.
Like they're little things that you think a cat might not be capable of or interested in. They weirdly are. Like they're strange animals. So it's little things like that where it gives you opportunities for you to do things that cats would do. I thought that was quite good, and all the the way that it traverses the world is exactly like a cat would. Like they never take the easy way through it. I mean, my cats are forever walking along like shed roofs alongside along fences and things. It's really and I thought they portrayed that quite well. So yeah, it seems like a really interesting concept, but I'm surprised based on what I've seen, I guess, that it's reviewed as well as it is, because I don't know why someone that doesn't like cats would enjoy this game from what I've seen.
Yeah.
So is there an element of, do you think a gamer that has got, say they're neutral about cats, I don't really care either way, would someone like that be able to pick this up and go, I've enjoyed that? Because I don't think it's a particularly long game either.
No, I done it in 5 hours 50 minutes, which I think is on the longer side. It tracks this in your save file. I got 22 out of the 27 collectibles on the first run, so I was pretty thorough with what I was doing. You could do that. You could shave an hour and a half off that easy, because I was fucking about. Like, you can. One of the good things, one of the things I enjoyed is you can just, there's pillows around. You can just go and sleep on the pillow, and it will like zoom out, and just like you can have, like, just reflect. It will zoom out, and then it'll be like this nice music playing, and you can hear the purring through the PS5 controller, and the haptic feedback's like going with its breath and whatnot. But in terms of, I think there is enough here. I do think there is enough here, just in terms of a gameplay sense, because it's actually quite smartly designed. Like when you think about the things you can do as the cat, you can jump up and interact with things. The meowing, seemingly you just think, it's just a novelty. That's useful for other things in the game, like distracting certain people or enemies, or trying to lure people away, etc. You can like scrap the blankets and things like you see cats doing. You do it on doors, but to knock on some of the doors, you scrap on the door. So there's a mechanical use for all the little cat sort of quirks that they've added, and the way they've handled the jumping, I think, is the right way to do it, because it's prompt based. It's not you're not free form jumping and moving in the air and landing on the item. It's you look, the X is there, you hit it, you'll land on it. And at first I was a bit like, I don't know what I was expecting, but that's an interesting way to do it. The more you play it, though, that's absolutely the right decision, because you'd be forever missing things and getting frustrated. And I can only imagine the amount of extra work it would require to animate, just about hitting something on the side. Talking about getting a hand on it all the time, aren't we? You have to do that of the cat version. So they've made the right call in that sense. And there's a lot of linear parts that you'll go through, but there are areas where there's like an open area. It's like you've got to go up to that part of the city. Off you go. There's no map. There's no quest marker. There's a little inventory screen where you can see what you've collected, and you can ask the little robot what the deal is with those, and he'll remind you what to do if you've forgotten. But it's not very handholdy. So the puzzles and where to go and the exploration, you kind of have to do on your own, which I can see people getting frustrated with. But again, it's always that difficult balance of what's easy for me may have been really difficult for someone else, and vice versa. I think there is enough game here, even if as long as you don't actively hate cats, which I don't know what sort of sick bastard would be in that mindset. Then I think there is enough here, and I think that's why it's been successful. Because I think most people in general are tolerant or like cats, and they've produced a a good game. Like, it's well designed. There's not a lot of fluff. There's a few like collectibles, like memories and whatnot that to go through, but they don't overindulge you with side activities. And there's like 2 or 3 of those that you can do. Stuff I was doing, I thought I was doing side stuff, collecting stuff, and then it turns out I was doing the main quest, but just before. So there's a level of freedom about if you just want to go off and explore, you can do half of the main stuff, and then you'll go and trigger the next point. It's like, oh, we've already got these items, etc., etc. But yeah, I mean, there's not really a lot to say in terms of negatives. There really isn't. Like towards the back end, there's a little bit of scruffiness kicking in, like a robot that was along with us or walking around. He suddenly like teleported and glitched a little bit. It didn't break the game. Like, it weren't like it stopped us from progressing. But I was a bit like, oh, first time I've seen that. I'd argue the checkpoints in like the mandatory stealth sections. There's a few mandatory stealth sections where if you get discovered, you are likely to get killed. So the cat you can get the cat killed. So that is a devastating thing when that first happens. So you've got to be careful around that. And I feel like in a couple of instances, the checkpoint, it's like, could you not have just done a couple in there rather than doing the whole loop perfectly? But they're few and far between. They really are. The main sort of enemies you'll encounter are these little bacteria things called Zerks. They're like those face crabs of Half-Life. I don't know if you've seen or remember those. They look like those. And they jump on your back, and you can shake them off if you keep hitting circle. But too many get on. Again, cat will go fall on its side, and then you sort of reload. But no, honestly very unique, as it would suggest being a cat game. I was really pleased. I was really happy. I mean, it's a decent run time, I think. Didn't outstay its welcome. And other than you're nitpicking if you moan about like one animation that went wrong at the end, towards the back end of a game. So it's a good game at heart, and it's also in this very unique and sweet sort of setting and character.
So the one question I do have is, you've technically played this for nothing.
Yeah.
So would you recommend someone? I know you've paid your subscription, but it's all intents and purposes, you haven't gone out and bought it.
No, I haven't actively opened the wallet. No, correct.
So would you, now you've played it, have been happy to hand over 25 UK pounds for it? £5 an hour, basically, is what we're talking.
It's a good question. I think yes. I think ultimately, because it's really high quality. Like, it's not just a shitty, scruffy indie game. Like, it is. It's really well executed on like decent production values. The cat looks great. The characters look great. There's another layer of the story going on in terms of why the fuck are there robots in this city underneath the ground. That's something that, again, you can go and find out. But it ticks all the boxes. It might seem a little bit expensive maybe for 25 quid, but I think the whole perception of value and price, as we've discussed at the very start of the podcast, is all over the place at the moment. It really is. It's in the eye of the beholder, isn't it, value? It always has been and always will be. What's worth 25 quid to me isn't worth 25 quid to others. I'd have had no problem paying for it. And I think that if you've had a cat, if you've got a cat, if you're planning to get a cat, it's a no-brainer. Like, jump in. I think you'll have a great time with it, and it'll be a nice little adventure to play over a weekend. You know, you could hash this out in a weekend and be happy, hopefully.
Palate cleanser territory, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, I mean, it's one that was sort of on my radar, but not at the same time. I was like, I was a bit concerned about it.
I had no idea it was going to pan out. I mentioned it last week as earmarked, but I was like, this could just be turt. Because you see so many of these promising games that look really good in trailers, and then they're just broken or buggy, or just there's not a lot about them. This is a very well-rounded game, first of all, and then second of all, you've got this awesome setting and character to control. It's like rolling around going, meow. Like, isn't even like little details. Like, there's a little brown bag on the floor. You can interact with stuff. I pressed triangle. He put his head in it, got stuck in it, and it inverts all the controls because you've got a bag on your head. And then it eventually comes off. I thought I'd killed it at first because it pops a trophy and says "Curiosity killed the cat." I was like, no, it's going to suffocate. And it fell off, luckily. But there's loads of little not loads. There are a number of different like unique interactable things you can do, and some of the stuff I missed, I look back on, I was like, cool, I didn't know you could do that. It's good fun, but just don't expect it's not brimming with content and side quests and collectibles, and you can find badges and stuff that you put on your little jacket, your little harness, which is about the only customizable thing. But for all intents and purposes, it's a straight A to Z adventure game with some open areas for you to explore, and you have to explore to figure out how to progress.
Yeah, no, I think I've got to the point where I thought I'll watch half an hour and then I'll make a decision. Really, I don't. It's either buy it and play it, or it's continue watching it through the stream. I'm not going to do both.
Yeah.
But I think broadly speaking, it looks better and is better than I was expecting.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these, as you've alluded to, not just indie games, I feel like,
a lot
but
of games,
mainly indie games, tell you what to expect, but don't really deliver on that. And I think we often evidence that by the wording they use in the store versus, what we actually end up playing. But this is one of those few examples of where what you expected is kind of getting delivered. So it's a positive thing. But as you say, it won't be for those few lunatics in the world that don't they eat? Is it like in Asia somewhere they eat cats?
Yeah, I don't know what they eat dogs though in some parts. It's like, not that it's any better or worse, but it's difficult to stomach that because they're domesticated in these parts. But that's why I don't travel.
So maybe they won't be playing it.
No,
everyone else in the Western world will largely be enjoying it by the sounds of it. So no, it's good.
Yeah.
So have you got anything else that you think's worth mentioning before we walk down to the gallery?
I don't think so. I think it's like,
I don't really know what to ask, to be honest.
It's very solid. Like and it's not overly gamified either. It's not like waypoints and stuff in the way. It's all contextualizing the world of where to go, like lights, very clever, like subtle directions. And it's awesome running around as a cat.
There you go. I can't disagree.
No.
It sounds like, and it looks, as I say, I think the whole thing has been executed with more precision and thought than I would have expected.
Absolutely,
Is kind of where I was at with it. So
I never doubted they wouldn't have put the thought into it, but sometimes the idea doesn't translate to good game.
Yeah.
This is one of the instances where it has. So celebrate it.
And I think when I saw it and I saw the video length, I think the one that I'm watching is just shy of 5 hours.
Yeah.
And I was like, that, and normally it would say like part 1, part 2, whatever. And I was like, it's just full playthrough. And I was like, that is nice. It's nice to play a game of that length sometimes.
More and more I'm appreciating shorter experiences, just to break things up. So this is definitely one of those.
That's what I mean. We took 30 hours in Spiritfarer or whatever, 35 hours in Spiritfarer versus 5 hours in as a cat. And I think I know which is the more valuable time spent.
Yeah.
There you go. Right, so let's walk down to the Dimp Digital Gallery and ask the first question of, are we going in the doors?
Absolutely. I've left my keys in the other room, but I think we've got cards now. Little phone, just
swipe them.
Technology,
QR code or whatever it is. But so in we go, and we're going to your wing.
Yes.
Where does it sit? And I imagine this is going to be a slightly more difficult one for you to place than perhaps usual. I don't know, but I'll be interested to see.
It ain't a bronze; it's higher than that.
Yeah,
it's kind of. I'm going to give it a silver, and say no more before I talk myself out of it or change it. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's really, really solid, unique, and it's a good game to jump on for a few days and rifle through. Don't know if it had the staying power of like some of the other stuff, but definitely a worthwhile experience. 100% recommend if you like the idea of it, because the idea is what they've delivered for once.
Yeah, no, I was wondering whether it might just seep up into gold, but I think that's I think that would be very generous from what I've seen to then say it's
Yeah.
a great game.
I think that's it. And yeah, I don't know what could have made this a great game, but then it was at that point you're kind of splitting hairs. I just, Silver, very good game and very unique, very wholesome, and another childhood dream tipped off, isn't it? Or ticked off for me. We had Pokemon coming through earlier this year, and now we've had being a cat. So
slowly making our way through the list in 2022.
Yeah. I don't know what else there is left. I might be completely fulfilled now.
Life complete.
Yeah, but no, Stray, easy silver, very good game. I liked it a lot, and I think a lot of people, if you like the idea of it, you'll enjoy it too. But I think that's it for this episode.
Job done.
The Ramblers again, but happens, doesn't it?
Deal with that.
Exactly.
What's that, an hour and 45 or something?
Hour and a half, 90 odd minutes for the... I think that's the sweet-ish
spot.
Yeah.
You
don't want to be seeping into 2 hours if you can help it. But I will say the conversations will be as long or as short as they need to be, rather than cutting things short or over-stretching things. So if we rock up with a 10-minute episode one week, that's the week of... it only required 10 minutes, but... We'll see. Anyway, if you made it this far, thanks for joining us on this episode. We've enjoyed having your company along with us. Patreon.com/DimpDigital. You can go and support the cause. Or Twitch.tv/DimpDigital. You can subscribe, either pay and in pocket. Or if you've got Amazon Prime, you can actually support us for free. So link your Amazon Prime to your Twitch account, subscribe to the channel, puts a little bit of cash back in the pocket, but that's that. Anyway, nothing more for us to say here, though, other than thanks for your time and ta-da.
This was a Dimp Digital production.